25 games to play with your friends in Minecraft. Tic Tac Toe. Both players take wool from the chests and take turns placing it, trying to get 3 wool in a row. I don't think there's anyone watching this video who doesn't know how to play this. Connect 4. Both players take sand from the chests and take turns dropping the sand from the top to be the first player with 4 sand in a row, vertically, horizontally, or diagonally. When you want to reset the board, press the button and jump down to collect the fallen sand. No games in this video require any difficult redstone, as seen here, and feel free to pause whenever you need a closer look at any of the redstone. Guess the block. Minecraft Guess Who. Players choose a block from this chest and place it in the space below. Both players then take turns asking yes or no questions related to their block, eliminating possible blocks in the process by closing the trapdoors above them, narrowing down options to eventually try and guess the other player's chosen block. Questions must relate to features of the block, for example, does it spawn naturally in the nether, or does the top of the block contain any yellow? Questions cannot relate to anything else, such as, is your block in the 3rd row? Each turn, players can ask either one yes or no question or guess one block you think the other player selected. Mastermind. One player is chosen as the code breaker and one is chosen as the code maker. The code maker takes the top row of wool along with all the black and white wool, while the code breaker takes all the wool beneath. The code maker then places 4 different wool to make the code here. The code breaker then places 4 wool in the first section to try and guess the code. After each guess, the code maker provides feedback using the black and white wool, 1 black wool for each correct color in the correct position, and 1 white wool for each correct color in the wrong position. The code breaker then refines their guess based on the feedback from the code maker, guessing until they either guess the code or run out of guesses. Color match. This is very similar to Mastermind, and you've probably seen this on TikTok or YouTube shorts. Both players stand on either side of the game, picking up the 5 wool from the chest, then walking to the other tower to place their code for the other player to try and match. Players then climb up their ladder and begin taking turns guessing in which order the colors are placed, getting told how many are in the correct position after each turn swapping colors around. Players must memorize previous responses to help match the colors and win the game. I added this middle barrier so that players don't accidentally see their opponent's code when placing theirs, but you also need to trust your opponent to not go into 3rd person to cheat and see your code. Push and take. This is an original game I invented when I wanted to play chess but my friends didn't want to, so I simplified it into a sort of chess checkers pawn combination. In this game you have 2 rows of pieces and take turns pushing any of the pieces 1 block forwards. You can capture the opponent's pieces diagonally like a normal pawn in chess and must strategize with the goal of making a pawn reach the opponent's gold block on the opposite side of the board, winning you the game. You have 2 rows of pieces and unlike chess pawns, you cannot push them 2 spaces forward when starting. You win by either reaching the opponent's side with 1 piece or by forcing the opponent into a position where they have no legal moves when you still do, winning you the game. This is a strategy game and it is possible to tie in a stalemate. Battleships. Battleships in Minecraft works almost the exact same as the real game. You grab your grey wool and place them anywhere in the water below, representing your ships. You need to place 1 4-block long ship, 2 3-block long ships, 3 2-block long ships, and 4 1-block long ships. Keep in mind no ships can be touching each other. Players then take turns shooting at different coordinates on the board above, placing white wool if they miss and red wool if they hit a ship. If a player hits a ship, they are allowed to shoot again, and remember, if you sink a ship, surround it with white wool as no other ships can touch it, so you know there are no ships there. The game ends when 1 player sinks all of their opponent's ships. The glass bridge is there so that you can reach the higher coordinates of the board in survival mode, but of course you don't need this if you're playing in creative mode. Checkers. Played on a simple 8x8 board, each player takes turns pushing pieces diagonally on the black squares. If given the chance, players can hop diagonally over an opponent's piece to capture it, provided the square behind it is available for the piece to land on. Players can chain these jumps together in 1 move and change direction jumping left or right if needed. If your piece reaches the other side of the board, it gets replaced with the other slab variant and has now been kinged, meaning it can move diagonally forwards and backwards. The game ends when 1 player captures all of the opponent's pieces or blocks them from making any legal moves. Duck, 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 duck. This is an original game that has a surprising amount of strategy for its simple rules. You place ducks using any color wool you like on the board like this, taking turns until there is no space to place any ducks. The winner is the player with the most ducks on the board or the player who placed the final duck. This game is very versatile in which the board can be any size and any shape. Side note, you don't need to use ducks, but I am because it makes the game more fun and makes the board look funny when the game ends. If you want to make the game more complicated, you could include the rule that multiple ducks can branch off of 1 beak. Hangman. 1 player thinks of a word and writes an underscore for each letter of the word on this sign. The other player then guesses different letters to help them guess the word. If the letters are in the word, the player that thought of the word edits the sign to include the letter in the correct position, and if the letter is not in the word, it gets added to the list of incorrect letters on the other sign and the light is turned on. If all 6 lights turn on before you guess the word, you lose. Guessing an incorrect word also results in the light turning on. Side note, I spent ages trying to come up with a more interesting concept than just lights turning on, like lava slowly approaching a chicken or something, but I couldn't make anything work and have basically no redstone skills. Block telepathy. This is another viral game you have probably heard of. Players stand in a circle and on the count of 3 place a random block beneath them. Players must then silently communicate on what the next block will be. For example, if the blocks are netherrack, oak log, and red wool, you might place a crimson stem, hoping other players also made the connection. You cannot place the same block twice, and all players win once everyone places the same block. This game can create some cool towers seeing everyone's thought process, and is the only game on this list that must be played in creative mode. Just a reminder that the world download with all of these games is free for anyone to download in the description, so to help support me, please like the video or subscribe if you're enjoying this video so far. If this video gets over 10,000 likes, I'll do this again but with 25 Minecraft minigames. Mensch, Ärger, Dich, Nicht. This game is modeled after the Mensch, Ärger, Dich, Nicht board, but is essentially just Ludo and can be remodeled for Ludo, Sorry, and any other similar board games. Mensch, Ärger, Dich, Nicht is German for don't get angry, and in this game you get really angry. To roll a dice, there is a dispenser in the middle of the board with 6 banners. One player starts by rolling the dice, trying to get a 6. Players take turns rolling in clockwise order, the same direction in which the pieces move. Once a player rolls a 6, they are allowed to bring a piece out of their spawn to their starting field, or move an existing piece 6 spaces forwards. But since no one has any pieces out, they have to bring out their first piece, rolling a second time and moving clockwise that many spaces. If you roll and land on another player's piece, they get eliminated and sent back to their spawn, resetting their progress for that piece. The goal of the game is to have all 4 pieces within their house or home row. Players must roll the exact number of spaces in order to move into the house. As an example, if a player needs to move their last piece 1 forwards, they must wait their turn and try and roll a 1. Once a player has all of their pieces in their home row, they take first place and the other players keep playing for second, third, and last place. Rolling a 6 lets you roll again, and you cannot capture your own pieces or bring one out to your starting field if one of your pieces already occupies it. Other players cannot enter your home row, and you cannot choose not to capture an opponent's piece, you only have the option of which piece you want to move. Shuffleboard. This game is inspired by the game with the same name. Here, players pick up a puck of their choice and stand at the end of the arrow while others watch, and throw the puck along the table to be the closest to the end of the board without falling off. Scores are calculated using the shadow of the puck and an approximate distance the end of the shadow is to the end of the board, measured in pixels. If your puck falls off the table, you automatically lose the game. The winner is the player whose puck is closest to the edge of the board, and remember not to accidentally pick up a puck while it's still moving or while measuring its distance. Pick up blocks. This game uses the same concept of Mikado or pick up sticks and was suggested to me by a friend of mine. To begin, one player jumps on the rocket and dispenses all 9 wool onto the ground below, joining the other players afterwards. Players then take turns clockwise, announcing which wool they want to pick up, then attempting to pick it up. If they fail to do so by picking up more than the 1 block they were going after, they are out of the game and spectate the others as they try and pick up the rest of the blocks. Repeatedly fill the dispenser and dispense the blocks until 1 player remains, who then wins the game. Don't ask me why I made it a rocket, it just needs to be a tube with a dispenser. Land Rush. This game was inspired by Ho 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 from Hypixel Party Games. 3 to 9 players take a stack of wool of their choice and take turns picking out coordinates to start in. The link to the banner patterns are in the description. Once players pick coordinates, they keep the banners so that no other players begin on the same row or column as them. Players then take turns placing 1 wool connected to theirs, trying to fill the most spaces possible whilst being attacked by multiple players at once. Players continue until all regions are blocked off, where players fill in their regions, counting how many blocks they placed. The winner is the player with the largest region of land, and this game can lead to many alliances and betrayals. This is probably my favorite game on this list. Werewolf. If you haven't played Werewolf before, this might be confusing as there are a lot of rules that I will cover in a short amount of time. One player is the designated game master, who doesn't play the game but guides it, like the DM in Dungeons & Dragons. They bring each player to pick their role here, writing down their role in the process. Once all players have their role, they leave for their houses to wait out the night. In this version of Werewolf, I only included 5 roles, the werewolf, of which there are 2 that try and kill everyone to win the game, agreeing to kill 1 player each night. Then the rest are villagers who need to figure out who the werewolves are and vote to execute them each morning. Among the villagers, there's a doctor who can choose to save 1 player from death each night if the werewolves happen to choose that player to kill. There's also a seer who can see the role of 1 player each night to help identify the werewolves. Lastly, I've included the little girl who is able to spy on the werewolves as they hunt at night. The night starts with everyone entering their houses, standing in this corner. The game master then asks the doctor who they want to save, and then the seer asking whose role they want to see. The game master should not go into their house and ask, as the little girl would see. Then the game master announces for the werewolves to leave their houses, who need to be as quiet as possible to not make a sound, and silently agree on a player to kill, pressing the button to kill the player, dropping them beneath their house. During this time, the little girl can, if they want, hide on a roof or in a bush or something. If the werewolves spot the little girl looking through their door or sitting on a roof, they should obviously kill them so that they don't have the chance to tell everyone what they saw. Then the game master announces it is daytime once the werewolves return to their houses and everyone quote wakes up from the night, coming to the table in the center. The game master then tells everyone everyone the events from last night along with who died, in which the players get to discuss who they think the werewolves are and then vote on who they want to kill, revealing their role to everyone once killed. This repeats either until the werewolves kill everyone in the town and win, or until both werewolves are successfully voted out and killed. If it is too easy to hear the werewolves, have players play with lower volume or no volume at all. Okay, this probably made no sense and there are a lot of things I've left out, so only try this game if someone already knows how Werewolf works or has played in real life before. Russian Roulette. This game is adapted from one of Mumbo Jumbo's videos, link in description. In this game, the goal is to get the most points without dying. Players take turns entering the pit to press the button, getting either points in forms of ores or a 1 in 6 chance of blowing up. Iron is worth 1 point, gold is worth 2, and diamond is worth 3. There is no order for players to drop, and to play, a player that wants to drops down, presses the button, waits for their reward, and then leaves before they or another player enters the pit again. You can either let the player with the most points win or risk it and go for more points. Mills. This game also goes by the name Nine Men's Maris, or as I learned it in German, Mühle. Both players take their game pieces out of the central barrel and take turns placing them one by one on the assigned spots until all pieces have been played. Once all pieces are played, players take turns moving one piece one space along the grid in any available direction. Pieces must move to an available spot, and if the player has no legal moves, the other player wins. The aim of the game is to create mills with 3 pieces in a straight line. Mills cannot be diagonal and must follow the grids on the ground. If you manage to make a mill, either by placing 3 pieces down in a line at the start or by moving a piece to create the line, you are allowed to take an opponent's piece off the board, resulting in 1 less piece for the opponent to build mills with. Players cannot capture pieces that are in a closed mill though, so in a line of 3, and once you are down to 3 pieces, your pieces can jump to any point on the board. If you close a mill and the opponent has 3 pieces left, regardless if they are in a mill, you capture 1 piece and win the game, as they don't have enough pieces to build another mill. Players can only take an opponent's piece when closing a mill and not when opening it. The idea of a mill is that it can be opened and closed repeatedly, and you must strategize to take away vital pieces from the opponent that prevents them from closing a mill. The ideal setup is to make a sort of double mill, where upon opening one mill, another is closed like this, taking away an opponent's piece on every turn. Here you are watching a full game sped up, so you can slow down the video to see how the game is played if you're still confused. Monty Hall. In this game, a seeker and hider enters the box on either side, with the hider hiding behind one of the 3 trapdoors. The hider must then convince the seeker to pick a trapdoor they are not behind, using reverse psychology and their knowledge of the other player in order to not get found. This game is basically a test of how well you know your opponent. Other players can watch from the outside, and the seeker wins when they find the hider, and the hider wins if the seeker didn't find them for 3 turns in a row. Castle Crumble. This is a game from Stampy's Funland, which I had to include on this list, although I changed the items around a bit. Again, the link to the original game is in the description. 2 players pick a side and grab their wool and a stack of sand, and must bury the wool in the stack of sand, creating a sort of sand defense. It is up to you how you want to place the sand and where you want to place the wool. The player who finishes building their sandcastle first gets to go first. Each round, a player presses the dispenser, which gives an item, deciding on what they get to do each turn. Receiving a stick, the player gets to break 1 sand from the opponent's side. Make sure it is the highest sand of any pillar so you don't accidentally see the wool when you're not supposed to. Receiving a carpet, a player can place it on their own sandcastle on top of any pillar, which prevents any blocks in the pillar from being broken. Receiving a torch, a player is allowed to break down an entire pillar of sand. Receiving a block of sand, the player can place it anywhere on their side. Once a player finds the wool, they must take turns breaking all the sand on top of the wool, along with a staircase in order to leave the castle once they break the wool, otherwise they cannot win the game as they are stuck inside the sandcastle. The winner is the first player to successfully break and take the opponent's wool out of their sandcastle. Steal or no steal. This game follows the popular game show format. 1 player sits on the right while the other sits on the left. The player on the left presses the button to see which wool they received. Red means lose and green means win. Then it is up to the player to persuade the other player to either steal their block or let them have it. This game is about trust and manipulation, and about how well you know your friends. Once the player on the right has decided who keeps the wool, they press the corresponding button and wait to see who wins the game and who loses. I am horrible at redstone, but here's the smallest area I was able to fit this game into. Lasso. In this game, 4 players climb to the top of the ladders, pick up their fishing rod and drop down on one side of the map. 1 player climbs to the very top of the map to turn on the game, dropping down after doing so, in which players can start playing. The goal of the game is to reel as many chickens into their pit as possible whilst preventing others from doing so. The game ends either when the eggs run out, when a set timer runs out, or when everyone's fishing rod breaks. The winner is then the player with the most chickens in their pit. Chess. As much as I would love to explain the rules of chess, no one would want to listen to me, so I won't. In this game, each banner represents a different piece, and again, the link for these banners are in the description. Footrace. This game is a simplified version of Mensch, Ärger, Dich, Nicht or Ludo, wherein you battle against a single opponent to reach their side of the board. You roll up to a 9 from the middle dispenser and move any of your 4 pieces that many spaces around the path in the direction of your opponent's spawn. You cannot land on your own pieces, and when landing on an opponent's piece, that piece gets sent back to their spawn. Once you roll any number high enough for a piece to land on your opponent's spawn, you reach the base behind it, completing the race with 1 piece, and here you don't need to roll the exact number. Your goal is to get all 4 pieces to the base on the other side of the map first, winning you the game. 10 questions. This is like 20 questions with guessing animals, but is about guessing the Minecraft block or item and is best played in creative mode. One player goes behind the wall and picks a random Minecraft block or item, putting it in the item frame so that they can remember their block and so that they cannot lie and change their block they had in mind. After they join the other player in the front, the other player then asks yes or no questions to try and guess the item or block the other player picked in 10 questions or less. Guessing a block or item counts as 1 question, and players take turns to see who can guess their block or item in the least amount of questions. Players guessing have a noteboard where they can write down notes and answers to questions to help them remember what they asked. I chose 10 questions, but if it is too hard, you can play normally with 20 questions. Again, the world download, including all of these games, is in the description. Please subscribe to help me make more videos like this. I'm currently trying to beat Pilott in subscribers, and only you can help me do that. Thanks again, and thank you for watching.